Hello, everybody. Welcome back on Unversed Podcast. Danny here, and today I am talking about the rest of Billy Bat. So, part one's already out for Billy Bat. I covered chapters 1 through, I believe, 93 or 94. So if you missed that, go ahead, check back, and listen to that. And here's the second part. So, the reason why I decided to do two parts, as I mentioned in the previous episode, is because at one point, Kevin Yamagata is super close. Our main character is super close to trying to figure out what's going on with Billy Bat and just pretty much everything revolving around him, right? And unfortunately, as he's getting here, we have I guess it's the government, as a whole. I believe it's the American government, mainly, but, pretty much, who's ever in charge there, gave the okay to do a reset, and basically that means kill him, so he gets shot, and a person that was gonna kill him, which showed up very early on into the manga, actually one of the first characters you meet when he goes to Japan, and it turns out he's actually connected to a larger thing with this whole Billy Bat situation. He dies as well. And so we're thinking, oh man, Kevin's dead. And so by reset, it means we need a new person that Billy is only talking to for the important stuff, right? Because, Kevin's sort of the catalyst, like the prophet, if you will, for Billy's predictions of catastrophes in the world, right? Like the Kennedy assassination, the stuff with the ninja, Kanbei, I believe it was. And a bunch of other stuff that ended up coming true through his comics. Like he was drawing these events that Billy was subconsciously telling him. And Kevin just, he went through this whole crazy lifestyle to the point where he went hiding, and he would just constantly drink because if he was sober, Billy would show up to talk to him, right? Crazy life. Ends up getting shot right now, which is very unfortunate, because man, Kevin's such an interesting character. Urasawa has such a good job keeping you interested in their main characters. And so we get into another big time jump. I believe it's I'm going to say maybe 15 years. And we see the other Kevin, Goodman. He is the child that Yamagata saved during the Kennedy assassination. He protected him and from I believe it's a ricocheted bullet or the bullet that killed Kennedy. And he can talk to Billy. We see that early on with Kevin when he goes to visit the family. We find out he's actually drawing all this stuff that's happened, and he's, Kevin looks, and Kevin Goodman's been drawing all the events that's been happening that Kevin already knew. So right there we already know, okay, this is sort of crazy. Billy Bat is never taking no for an answer. He's always going to find a way type of thing. So we see Kevin Goodman's in a university, and, he has a different style for his approach, right? For art. He was actually doing, spray painting, on walls and stuff with these nice stylistic versions of what the comic strips would be. Instead of drawing a comic, he's just drawing one giant panel that's a broad representation of an event, right? One of them was the Shibuya incident. I believe it was Shibuya when they threw Kevin Yamagata's friend to make it look like suicide on the train tracks and all that. And it definitely has a different pace, different type of tone, with Goodman as the main character. And I also think because of the years, constant time skips in this manga, very classic thing from Urasawa, especially with 20th Century Boys. A lot of similarities between these two mangas. And so we see, just Goodman. At first, he just wants to do whatever he wants to do. He's super smart, classic kind of anime trope for a character. And then once he starts getting involved into the world, we start seeing previous characters from the last part, right? Mr. Smith, for example, shows up, and we see how much older he's gotten. And I just gotta say, this second half is such a crazy ride. The first half with Kevin Yamagata for sure is a crazy ride, but as we progress further into the technology and the things with Billy Bat, it starts to really pick up, because now we're seeing more sides of the organization that was looking for people that drew Billy Bat and trying to just prevent things or start things. Who knows? Like, we don't really know the true objective of the government with Billy Bat's involvement. The bald character with the glasses, the Japanese man, he talked to Kevin early on in the manga. He's more prominent here, and he's sort of a black sheep, if you will, where he can't talk to Billy, but he knows everything about him. And, well, no, that's not true. He talked to Billy once a long time ago, and when he was a child, and that was kind of the last time he talked to Billy. And so he decided to do everything in his power to keep somebody alive that that could talk to Billy, right? And once Yamagata passed away, he says, okay, if we don't find the next guy, or if we can't do anything, I'm going to go talk to him myself on the moon, right? The opening chapter for this manga is astronauts on the moon looking, what the heck is that? And it's the Billy Bat symbol on the moon, and already that's like, whoa, that's some crazy stuff. Plays a lot into the latter half, like the last quarter of this manga. It's, as we reach the end, it's always tough when you're writing these kind of stories. You have to get an answer out, right? You can't sort of leave things in the air. Things are kind of left in the air here because a lot of we get exposition about Billy Bat, about the people who could see him. And I have my own theories of why it happens like that, So to get into it, Kevin Goodman's been searching for years. He's been traveling, just listening to the Bat. Eventually he meets older characters like Jackie, the female that was in the first half of the manga, towards the end of that part with Kevin Yamagata. And she returns, other characters return as well, and we just see, how different their lives are, because they're much older. Jackie has a kid, for example. Last time we saw her, she was a university student. And just a lot of stuff really going fast, but the pacing feels so good, right? Nothing feels rushed, nothing feels slowed. And Kevin Goodman just wants to really know, like, why Billy, why me? What's the point of all of this? And eventually, we get more emphasis on Chuck Kucklin, right? Which he's basically the Walt Disney of this universe, which I'll get back to later, because I think that plays a big role, at least message wise, in the manga. But that's the fake Billy, the charming, happy looking one. Eventually Goodman goes there to, I guess because, I don't know, I don't remember why. I think it's because he started working with the daughter of Chuck Kucklin, the fake one. Eventually he showed up and ended up taking the role of drawing Billy Bat again, because that's really all he's been wanting to do. He could still talk to Billy, and Billy wants him to draw, so he just starts drawing. And, he's really the only one that knows what's going on. Kucklin's daughter just thinks, oh yeah, he draws Billy, just like the old Billy or whatever. And the real Chuck Kucklin, Kevin Yamagata's assistant, was just reading it and thinking, oh, this is some interesting stuff, not knowing, like, oh, this is Billy telling us stuff, right? And this is where I was like, man, we're really getting real, huh? Started talking about 9/11 and all that. And I was like, man, these time jumps are just getting crazier and crazier. And we even get even more crazy with a third protagonist enters the fray, right? 8 years, Goodman's been drawing Billy, and that's the crazy thing about this manga and mangaka really in general. Like, Urasawa just doesn't care how long time skips are. He's like, yeah, I'll just do them, sure. And we don't really know what the time skips are going to be until it's mentioned by a character, or we see the year somewhere, like TV, newspaper, or something. If they didn't say, yeah, he's been drawing, Billy Bat for 8 years, taking over, Chuck. And it's like, if we never got that, we wouldn't have known, because he's a young guy, so we don't really see any changes in his appearance. And he goes to find a new successor, basically, and he meets this kid. Fate has it, oh, this is one of Chuck's kids from an affair, I guess. And he's been practicing, for years. He showed up as a kid once when Goodman just became the new artist. And now, he's back. Timmy is his name. Timmy's back and drawing Billy Bat just amazingly. He has like the same type of art style Yamagata and Goodman have. His stories are fresh, just the same type of feelings that Goodman and Yamagata gave. And so he's reading it, judging it. The real Chuck Kucklin's reading it. And Oswald, who has shown up, if you remember him, he was in the first half of the manga, hunting, basically. He worked for Chuck, the fake one, a long time ago, hunting down fake Billy Bat drawings, to see, like, basically he judges them if they're real or fake, right? I think when he says that for sure is whether or not, like, they could see Billy, because there's a very distinct sense in their writing and art style if they could see Billy Bat. But regardless, he would just eliminate them, because the whole point of the fake Chuck is he's got to spread this version of Billy Bat, and we actually get some flashbacks with his character as to why he's doing this, and just some wild stuff. It turns out he was a Jew in one of the concentration camps back in World War II, and Hitler talked to him. I think the fake Chuck mentioned Billy, or he saw something with Billy, and that's when he decided, okay, you have to spread Billy, but he wanted him to spread a fake Billy or a real Billy. Chuck, fake one, didn't understand, right? Because the old the one question in this manga that always came up was, is the bat white or is it black? And everybody is always confused about that answer or question. They don't know how to answer that, because every time we see Billy drawn, he is drawn the same. We can't distinguish the colors, right, in this manga. And the people who ask that are pretty much almost done talking to Billy, or like they've understood what Billy represents, type of thing. And yeah, so it all comes full circle at the end, right? Chuck's version of Billy reigns supreme. Turns out it was fake, though. Here comes Goodman to be like, actually, I'm bringing back the real Billy, just like Yamagata, the one you stole from, And now here we are with Timmy, who's drawing Billy Bat. And Goodman is the only one that says he is good to go. The real Chuck, he's not kind of feeling it. Oswald's definitely not feeling it. It's sort of weird. It's like he could see Billy, or can't he? We don't know. Even if you ask him that, which they don't up to a certain point, like initially. And then eventually, Goodman has to leave because he's got to go on this journey. He's got to find Yamagata. He's got to understand the purpose of Billy Bat. And we see Timmy just start slowly take over, Chuck, Kucklin Enterprise Industry, whatever they're calling it. And that's when we find out, like, the major turning point, when everything is gone for Goodman as far as the company goes. We find out, oh, Timmy can't draw, or he can't really draw Billy. He doesn't see him. The reason why it looked so good is because he was obsessed with Yamagata and Goodman's versions of Billy Bat. And, we see him talking to himself. We figured, oh, that he's just talking to Billy. No, actually, he's just talking to himself about, I like this, but that's not what Yamagata would do. He would do something like this. What about Goodman? Goodman would do something like that. So he's essentially a fake Billy Bat artist, but he fooled Goodman and all that stuff. And then, he goes on this crazy, in a sense, warpath with Chuck Kucklin. which, like I said earlier about the whole Disney thing, oh man, does this like reflect what Disney's done recently, which is crazy because this is an old, like, this manga ended like 4 years ago, I want to say. But eventually it got to the point where Chuck Cuckland Enterprise, whatever they're called, they owned a lot. They owned so much like electricity, they were powering all of California and majority of a bunch of third world countries with electricity and supplying water to said countries and the US as well. But, he's getting sued because there's like chemicals in the water that they have with their filtration system and people are going to be dying, this and that. And it gets really crazy. Like, it becomes such a huge powerhouse. And I think that does reflect on what Disney has become now that they bought Fox, like such a monstrous powerhouse in the entertainment industry. And, after reading this, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, maybe it is only a matter of time until Disney starts tapping into like other things besides entertainment, But aside from that, we finally get to see Yamagata and Goodman meet again. The last time they met was when he was a child. And just, it's so sad to see what's happened with Yamagata, because you have to remember, this is like 2000, like, this is after 9/11. So it's like 2005-ish or something. And, Kevin Yamagata, he was like in his 20s in the 60s, I think it was. Yeah, I want to say the 60s or something, 60s or 50s or something. So he is an old man. He looks like, Zefu Sensei. I think it was Zefu, right? His Yamagata's master. He's got the long beard, but he's been through so much. He no longer has his right arm. He's missing his left hand. He has no choice but to draw with his mouth. And he's just been drawing. Kevin's finally there. They want to talk. And he's like, you still talk to Billy, right? This and that. And Yamagata at this point, we haven't seen him since he got shot, and the journey he's been on has been crazy. We find out, he has also found the answer of Billy Bat, much like Einstein, Hitler, Zefu, other characters who would ask, is the bat black or white? And, Goodman just needs to know. He needs to understand what to do. And he goes to the location where Billy first interacts with humanity, which is in a cave in Spain, when it's like a big supermoon. The light reflects down into the hole, and it summons Billy Bat, because if you remember, Billy Bat is on the moon. And also that's where the drawings, the symbols that, somebody important in history was, first discovered when he was a child, Francis something. I forget the name. And here's where we get our answer about Billy, right? We see one Billy Bat. And the next thing you know, another one, flies down. And it's like, oh, you're white and you're black. These are the black and white Billies everybody's been asking. One's good, one's evil. And you really can't tell them apart. Sure, when, like, during certain conflict, like, when they're arguing a lot, the two Billies, and you find out, like, okay, you can kind of see who's who based on their dialogue, but still, it's confusing. You don't know which one has always been talking to Goodman, and he doesn't know what to do. He's lost in life. So much has happened. And then, even more confusing, here comes a third Billy Bat. He shows up, basically says, we were all one at one point. I'm like, what? Okay. Like, where are we going with this? And basically it's like, okay, yeah. I mean, when the moon hit the earth, as an asteroid, and it just formed into the moon, started rotating around the planet, it took a piece of Billy. Billy's been here the entire time. And that's why there's 3 of them. Like 2 on Earth, 1 on the moon. Like the one on the moon's always been watching. He's always been talking. But so have the other Billies. So we really just don't understand. And Billy's final message to Goodman, he's like, what do I do? Because Billy stopped talking to Goodman. And without that, these people who could see Billy start going crazy. They start losing it. They don't understand their purpose anymore in life. And when he asked that, the Billies just start laughing. You don't understand or whatever. Just do what you want to do. Just draw. Right? And then it turns into this point where even Yamagata, he told Goodman the same thing. Just continue drawing. Do what you love type of thing. Which is such a weird way to step out of that with Billy Bat. And, even Yamagata, him and Goodman were talking, and it's just like, well, look, like, these things are predicting this and that. And it's like, yeah, but can you really see Billy Bat? Or not really see, but is he really telling you these events? And it's like, yeah, my manga's, Yamagata saying, my manga's predicted events because of the research I did around the world, this and that, Timmy, I believe, said the same thing, or somebody told Timmy that. It's like, oh, you're really a prophet? And it's like, well, if you read enough magazines and you watch enough news, you could predict most things, like most events or whatever. And to me, I was like, I'm not buying that. I don't know, like, there's so much setup for Billy Bat, like, just to have him be, well, you just see him, you think he's guiding you, but it's really not. You're just creating your own characters. And we get this lovely send-off for Yamagata, where he's like, I just want to draw Fuji Pantaro, his other character that he tried to draw after Billy Bat. And that's when he started going crazy because Billy Bat kept showing up all the time. And, that's when he went on this whole, like, drunk binge, so that way he couldn't see Billy anymore, this and that. And what I think is, towards the end, they're like, oh, we're running out of time. The world's gonna end or whatever. Something major's gonna happen. It all pretty much led to 9/11. I think that was the last thing that happened. And nobody could really talk to Billy anymore. Well, even at that point before 9/11 happened, he had a hard time talking to people. And he was, like, barely trying to get to people. So, like, Jackie, for example, the kid from Kumori Village, that grew up and eventually became, like, one of the presidents of Billy Batland, Japan. And so, yeah, I see all that, and I think there is just no way it's all a coincidence, right? So what I think actually happened is Billy's power was fading. It's fading out. Too much things happened. Who changed it? Who changed it? Oh, Goodman drastically changed the plot course that Billy had set up, mainly with the Japanese man, the bald one with the glasses, who's been involved forever since World War II. Because eventually he decides, I'm just gonna go to the moon and meet Billy, right? Because if you don't have the scroll, you have to go to the moon, right? The scroll or going to the moon can grant you a wish, time travel, or whatever. And see, there was always that talk of, well, this is the last Earth. All the other Earths are destroyed because the people who use the power, it just destroys the Earth. That's what happens. And yeah, Goodman decided, well, I'm going to rewrite what he's going to do. And he does it. It happens. And, we just, it's just kind of up in the air, I guess. Like, it was Billy Bat real, or was it just this personification of a character that passed down through artists all over the place, throughout history and time. It's just, I don't know, like, Billy Bat in itself is a really good premise for this manga, for a sort of suspense, seinen type manga. It's so good. But then, like I said in the beginning of this episode, you have to eventually come to the end, give an explanation, and just see if it's good or not, and I'm fine with what we've done, especially towards the end of this as well. Like, it jumps into the future. We don't know what year, but California is just a desert, and I guess it has something to do with Chuck Cucklin Enterprise or whatever. They might be responsible for that, and here's Timmy, he's old. And even, like, way before that point, like, he stopped drawing so long ago. But here we have Goodman just doing what he loves, drawing as an old man. Just constant issues of Billy Bat, just doing what he loves. And like at the end, like the end of the message for our main characters are just do what you love and just draw and never stop. Which, I don't know, like that's the only part for this manga where it just felt so rushed. It's because, well, yeah, this is tough. How do you explain Billy Bat? When we finally get to where we have to go to understand everything about this mysterious being known as Billy Bat, like what do we do? And I don't know, it feels like a softball answer for me. I don't know what I would want necessarily, but something with more weight than the answer that we got. Cause again, it's kind of just up in the air. It's like, was he real? Was it just, an imagination? Just this thing that just subconsciously passes down to people? You never know. But all we do know is that, Billy Bat brought joy to the world. And when it stopped bringing joy, the fake one, right? Here we are again with the real Billy Bat giving hope, inspiring people, and doing all this just amazing things, just being a character, just being drawn by somebody who loves drawing the character. It's an interesting last quarter of this manga for sure. It's something that just I wouldn't expect. But it's a nice send-off for our characters. Very classic, very similar to, I guess, 20th Century Boys as far as like time jumps and just what happens to the world as far as we know. Because when Timmy took over, it just kind of was for the worst. Billy became this war propaganda comic for a long time and is probably responsible for World War III that occurred. As far as we know, that happened. There's just so much information in this manga to really go through. So I do definitely recommend reading it. It was 165 chapters. Seinen manga again, so you have to remember that's a lot of reading, guys. So you better sit down, buckle up, and get ready for that. And that's all I pretty much have to say right now for Billy Bat. I mean, if you guys have any questions or emails, hit us up, unversedpodcast@gmail.com. If you've read Billy Bat, would love to hear what you guys think. What would like to get into more specific things, let me know. Would love to do that. It was a good time. No lie. Like, I think reading Billy Bat was great. I mean, I took long pauses just because of work schedule and all that, and catching up to my podcasts just because I'm far behind. But other than that, yeah, no, Billy Bat was such a great time. It's Urasawa, so of course we're getting something good. Like 20th Century Boys, Monster, like those are the highest tier. Billy Bat's really close to that. And Master Keaton, I do like Master Keaton. It's a good piece of work, but it's not high tier. It's like mid tier, but still enjoyable read. Like, I'm glad Urasawa has that down. I can't wait to read more of his work. I know there's a bunch more out there that I need to read. That's probably on the list. And so speaking of the list, yeah, next is Gintama. Now, as this is part 2, that's going to continue in Gintama parts for these reviews. 700 plus chapters right now for Gintama. Like I said in the previous episode, so every 50-ish chapters, me and Grant going to sit down and just review those chapters, specifically those storylines, and just do that, So look forward to, that's about like 14, 15-ish max episodes for Gintama. I figured I'd do that because, this took a long time to come out because of how much I had to read and, just the timing and all that. So I don't want to keep you guys waiting for manga reviews. And as well, if you have questions about Gintama, and if we're at that part, we could just totally talk about it there instead of like, well, here's a generalization of Gintama, all 700 chapters. It's probably something I should have done earlier for other mangas that had big chapter lengths. So yeah, we'll be doing that now. And while we wait for that, guys, remember you could follow us at Unversed Podcast anywhere you go. You could follow me personally at Negator7. I'm starting to stream a lot now. Whether it be the video games, right? The gamer modes that I do. I'm going to be playing Surge as of this recording, hopefully soon. But I'm also streaming the podcast, and not just this one, also Marvel Talk. When we record, we record it live now on my Twitch, and we post that archive over on our YouTube channel, Unversed Network. The links in the description on Instagram and Twitter. I believe Facebook as well. But yes, we also recorded this podcast, the past few podcasts live, the Salt Talk that came out, as well as Game of Thrones episode we did for the first 3 episodes of season 8. We streamed those live. Fun times, good stuff. Now that I got some of the equipment in I've been talking about, hopefully we'll be doing that more frequently, better quality. Apologies for the quality and everything. It's just, I have the setup ready and it just wasn't working out. But now for the next big main episode, for sure, it's going to be a good setup. So while we wait for that, guys, swing on over to Marvel Talk. A bunch of new episodes are out. We have a few new episodes here as well. We're going to be picking up the pace. It's going to be great. At Negator7, if you want to follow me anywhere on social media, photo edits and all that, as well as twitch.com/Negator7. That's where we do the streams. So swing by, give it a follow, watch me game, watch us Marvel Talk, watch us just do the podcast. Bunch of good times. And we will update you as always on the social media to get you all caught up. So thanks for listening, everybody. Let's just sit back, relax, listen to some jams.